Hey Fairfield, it's Fairfield 2.0, yay! And today's exciting adventure, we have the Pines who are visiting Fairfield, Fairfield, to play at Cafe P tonight, but by the time you see the show, it will have aired already, so we'll talk about how great the show was, among other things today. Let me introduce our guests. This is the Pines. We're very honored to have them here. They're a Minneapolis-based band. They're pretty hot right now, and we're going to hear some music later after the interview segment, where they'll be playing some of the songs from their new album Dark So Gold, and some older material. We'll have them talk about that probably before they hit the guitars. But first, again, let's introduce the gang here. Over here we have David Huckfeld.
Hello.
Hello. And we also have Benson Ramsey. And he looks exactly like someone I know, so this is going to be hard. I'm looking at him and I'm going to go, Len! Hopefully not. All right, let's just jump right into it. How did you guys get together? How did the Pines form? Grow, you might say.
Well, we met in maybe about 9 years ago or so in Tucson, Arizona, down in the desert. And we're both from Iowa originally, but we had come down to Tucson to follow music and get out of the Midwest, just basically to open everything wide open for ourselves. So we met there on the streets of Tucson and basically started playing together about 2 days later at a local blues club.
A blues club?
Yeah.
Were you guys playing a different kind of music then? When you first got together playing at a blues club?
Yeah, we started out really just playing covers and like blues, like Chicago kind of blues, like actually like a
Midwest.
mix of like the country blues, electric blues, and just those shows, those gigs, just hours upon hours and like late nights, and just playing blues, not really writing or playing our own songs, a little bit, and then those songs started to mutate, and we would start out playing a blues song and then just 15 minutes later, like just mixing up the lyrics and adding lyrics and mixing up the riffs and just playing with that. We did that for a couple years, kind of we were just immersed in blues.
Cool.
And folk.
And folk.
And folk, like just that, and kind of where they meet. And we did that for a long time.
Nice.
All the while with this intention of it, like wanting to write and getting better and just kind of like learning, like going back where the songs come from and interpretations of folk songs and how they're relevant today, and just kind of like really interested in all that. And then it started to kind of snowball, and then we'd start writing our own material, and that's kind of how it started.
Nice. How many years ago again?
That would have been 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, we didn't have the Pines then. We were just there's the very beginnings of I think the sound taking shape, but yeah, probably 8, 9 years ago.
Was it a Ramsey and Huckfeld or Huckfeld and Ramsey at that point when you guys were playing clubs?
We just used our names,
yeah.
And there's a certain challenge. A 3-hour show, we never played the same song twice,
Yeah.
So we tried to grow this repertoire and there was current stuff too, but a lot of it was public domain and.
Well, so you got an education along the line. You guys got an education. You were educating yourselves about both blues and folk. Now, I wanted to ask you about the type of material that you were playing and how maybe that evolved into the type of stuff that you're doing now. Because as you said, you started writing together. For instance, what was the first big breakthrough as far as a song together? And did it come out of something based on maybe a folk tune or based on a blues tune or something?
For sure, we would take kind of parts from things,
right,
and add to it and whatnot. I think what we were doing was just like there's so much music that's happened, and it was just finding our voice and our place and something that felt pure and new, and like that's kind of what we were searching for. And I don't know if there was like a real breakthrough, but by just playing a lot and playing those songs and learning that foundation,
right,
was so important. And I don't know when the breakthrough came, but the songs started to come and they felt they had just this feeling for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we started to get more and more into the idea of space and the subtlety of music, and I think that just comes from playing and like getting better at your instrument, or your words, and
Right.
so and then we
Yeah.
started to really experiment with that, and that's when I think the songs started to come.
Nice.
I can remember playing, you know, we would play Smokestack Lightning by Howlin' Wolf, and we'd play it for a long time and leave a lot of space in that song as a one-chord blues groove. And I can remember us gravitating a lot toward minor keys, even at one point taking a Beatles song, Secret, and just throwing it into this realm that we had started to go towards, you know. And because at the end of the day, neither one of us are staunch traditionalists. As much as we love those roots music, like
Right.
to replicate it was never the goal. It was
Right.
always to do something with it, and
Right.
that's where the new songs started to come out of.
Well, you know, in a way, it's like practicing your instrument. You were practicing. You were learning. You were learning how to songwrite, basically, and how to get maybe the feel. You were getting a feel for the music. There are so many artists that I also interview. I interview other artists, and a lot of the one of the things that keeps coming up. I have to be able to talk today. Is that they advise, when I ask them a question, I'll ask you guys later too, what advice do you have for new artists? They normally say, so a lot of them normally say something like, be sure to get a foundation in, like mimic other things. Like, be sure you get a foundation in something where you're actually like copying this stuff for a while. And it seems like in this case, you guys were actually taking the process from, okay, here's the song, and then you grow it out like this. Here's the space, you know, and that's pretty cool. Okay, so now you're starting to get a body of work that's original material, and I guess then you start feeling like you want to record. How was that jump? Can you remember your first sessions together? Your first recording session of original material together?
Yeah, we sort of tinkered with it down in Tucson. We recorded a few songs in this big Adobe apartment that I had at the time, and it was really fun. I mean,
Most of those were covers at that point.
Were they?
But there were a couple originals that we had written, the earliest one.
So those are your originals. But those are your originals, yeah.
it was kind of like, yeah, we were messing around with the idea, and then at first, like, I grew up here. Well, we both grew up here. I grew up in the area, and when I grew up working for David Zolo at Trailer Records.
Oh,
So I worked there for a few years in my late teens, early 20s. And so the Midwest was kind of calling us both, and Tucson's really far out. It's just far out, and we kind of went there and found, I think, what we were looking for, and had this sort of vision starting to form.
Yeah.
You know, it was just playing it by ear. But so we came back to the Midwest, came to Minnesota, but did our first recording session in Iowa City.
Iowa City.
So,
Remember, what was the studio?
Minstrel Studios.
Minstrel
with John
Studios.
Speck.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out. I love the fact that you guys are from Iowa. Where are you from originally in Iowa? Like what city? What town?
I'm from Spencer, Iowa, which is in the northwest corner, up the Okoboji Lakes, and way up in Minnesota, by Minnesota and South Dakota.
I grew up in Washington, Iowa.
Washington. Okay. Interesting. And what's interesting is that you guys went to Tucson, found each other. Two Iowa guys, you know. Were you surprised? Did you meet a lot of Iowans out there?
There's actually quite a few Iowans out there. There's people from all over the world.
Yeah.
It's a real interesting place.
Tucson, yeah, major place.
Not many people are. When you meet someone in Tucson, your first question is, "Where are you from?" Kind of.
All right. No native or very few native Tucsonians.
I mean, there are, but there's people from all over the world. A lot of artists.
Right, Tucson is an artist town in addition to a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a very self-contained scene because it's so isolated that you're bound to run into people. If somebody comes to town and they're a musician, you're probably going to meet them before too long, you know.
Yeah, there's another artist town in Arizona, right? Isn't there? Well, anyway.
There's several. The like little isolated pockets.
Yeah.
Like Bisbee, Arizona is kind of a neat
I love that name.
artist. It's not so much music. Sure there is, but
Yeah,
painters
a lot
and
of
sculptors
painters.
and photographers. And
What we've got going here on Fairfield 2.0, talking about all things the Pines and talking about your history with Iowa and all that. But I want to bring into this also that Fairfield. You've been here a couple of times, obviously, so you've got the lay of the land, and you get this. You get what the town's about, right? This is a town that's made up of like a lot of artists and a lot of musicians. And as far as the population and the concentration of where they are and the places they play all the time and all that, I always felt like this was kind of a unique. When I got here, I was from New York, LA, Nashville, and all that. I've lived in sort of major places. And when I got here, I was really surprised at the amount of musicians that were here. Going back to Tucson, would you consider Tucson a music town in addition to maybe, just overall arts?
I think so, in the sense that there's not a music business there.
Right.
But as a hotbed of creativity, absolutely. Calexico comes out of Tucson, Giant Sand, Reiner came out of Tucson. So creatively speaking, it's got a lot to offer because you're not really driven by ambition down there. There's not that much to get,
What is a typical? So what's the scene? Is there a strip? I don't really know too much about Tucson. Is there like a music strip and all that?
it was a really kind of special time for us, and there was a little place, I'm not sure if it's there anymore, but it was called the Red Room, and it was downtown, which the downtown of Tucson is kind of an interesting place. It's it's sort of a haunted world, but
Cool.
our neighborhood was close to there, so we would go down to this place. We would call them up. We'd be wanting to play, and we would play there several nights a week. We'd just call them up and say, "Do you have any music tonight?" They'd say, "No, come on down." So David and I would come down, and it was just you play for drinks and food, whatever. It didn't even matter at that point. And we would start out the night just playing songs, and then someone would come down, and then someone else would call their buddy. And then by the end of the night, you might have like bass, trombone.
Yeah.
You don't know what's
harmonica,
what's going
drums.
on. It was a really neat, and it was just
So it's like
all about the music.
It's like make your own scene. Nice.
Yes, and you might never even speak a word to the person you're playing with and never see him again.
Right.
But you played music for a night, and we did a lot of that. So it was good to play with other people, and
Yeah.
it was a real special time. I mean, I'm sure it's still kind of going on down there.
Right. And a lot of people define us and talk about the Iowa sound and stuff, and there is, but down there it's the same way. The music of the Southwest, mariachi music and conjunto music and border music, it's totally integrated in a lot of ways in Tucson in a really special way.
Did you find any of that influencing your taste? Maybe not so much the writing, but did you find yourself starting to want to explore a little of that too?
Yeah, there was a similar vibe to Iowa, like kind of. It's just like a little bit removed, a lot of open space, and music. It really helped us like think about place in music and like really like kind of hold that near. I think for sure, just and how music down there you could hear the influence, and then like hearing our Iowa influence, and knowing that it's ingrained in you, and
Right.
so that like it kind of helped just like run that through your mental process. So it kind of helped us like, okay, we have this sense of place where we're from, and so that helped us incorporate that in our music and trust it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think that's something we learned there.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe something else that, tangible, like instrumentals. I think, remember, there's a lot of groups down there, they have songwriters and they have in their songs and lyrics, but the instrumentals are worked in, whether it's some kind of a Tex-Mex thing, and it's like landscapey, And I think that was something that we really were drawn to as well.
I guess that's right. That would be the, and that's in your music. That actually has influenced it as far as what you do when you guys take off and you do your own, the sections. Let's talk about your music. By the way, anybody just joining us right now, we're talking with the Pines, guests of Fairfield. You're watching Fairfield 2.0. I always forget to announce who I am. I'm Mike Ragogna, that guy. And I like to introduce these guys one more time. We have David Huckfelt over here, and we have Benson Ramsey, who I still haven't called Len today on the show. Oh no, I just said it. All right, let's talk about your creative process. How do you guys? We talked about the past creative process, but what do you guys? You have a new album. Let's start there. Dark So Gold. Where did the title come from?
It was just like it was one of those. It popped. It was interesting because the title came before the record.
Cool.
In a way.
Oh, there are times when that can influence like a whole body of work. Did that?
Kinda. I don't know how much it influenced it, but it definitely was cool because any sort of boundaries to work within that you can make and that they're strong are good, I think. And it came out of this, I think it was a tour we did in Scotland right before we started the record. We were talking about it and messing around with ideas. And it was like the middle of winter and we were way up there.
By the North Sea.
It was just like 2 hours of sunlight, and it was just really, we were so far removed or something, and I just remember it just, Dark So Gold just like came, and we're just like, and then it just kind of haunted the process, and it was just a feeling
Right.
within those words. It just like, so that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, we did an interview recently with a writer from Illinois, I think, or from Chicago, and she asked about the record, and she said, well, where does the title come from? Because last year I was in Scotland, and I was driving around, and it made me think of, that your title reminded me of that time when I was up there. I said,
That's
exactly what I was.
Yeah.
Have you ever, Scotland, this is great. You guys have toured, well, I'm going to say toured the world, but probably limited to this point, but still, where have you gone?
Well, that was our first trip to Europe. It was last year. We're going back again this spring. But it was a month of shows, about 25 or 26 shows in about 29 days in England, Scotland, and the Netherlands.
Nice.
So there's a lot of countries we haven't gone to yet over there, but that was a very full-on, hectic tour.
And you know what? That's perfect. I mean, your music, I just see it. It's so perfect for those regions. And it's funny. Europe has started, especially like the Scandinavian countries. They have groups that are. My favorite group out of that area, that whole area, is Kings of Convenience. Mm-hmm. Love them, and you guys don't remind me of them at all. They're like samba, but you guys are. But the funny thing is, like I could see you fitting that area. They're embracing. They have such a love of acoustic music, and it's sort of out of nowhere because you think of that area and think of like ABBA. There's still the stereotype of that, but. Yeah, I imagine you're going to do really well over there too. But let's get back to here and the places that you've been other than Fairfield. And we're very happy to have you here. You're going to have a great time. You're here tomorrow night, or rather, you were here a few weeks ago, and it was a great concert. What are some of the other places in the States? What are some of your favorite places that you played?
Well, we like those. We like Fairfield is at the top of the list, I would think. And I think there's something growing up in Iowa and in Tucson, and we've kind of just communities, strong communities, interesting communities, artists, and people that are very active and mindful and into the arts and into life. Those are the communities that we really like to be part of and play for, and we love, of course, going to the cities and it all, but Fairfield is one of our favorite places.
Yeah, because we've got to play this last year at the Fillmore in San Francisco and do some bigger shows, opening for acts around the country, and those are always exciting, and they're really exciting. But I think when we come back to, for instance, there's a place called the Oak Center General Store at the crossroads of two highways up in Minnesota, and it's a farm, and it draws from 60 miles in any direction. People come to see concerts at this venue that's been around since the 70s, and those kind of events, I think for us, like, it feels there's something satisfying about the community aspect and the excitement. It's like they don't get to see a ton of music, and when something comes to town that they're excited about, the whole place fills up, and there's a great spirit to it, and we're just trying to connect those cities to those kind of places and make it.
Yeah, or like up in North, like in Superior, or like Cape Cod, and then like we like going in the off season too. You know, we like when there's 4 feet of snow and it's.
Like
people
driving?
think we're kind of crazy, but and we are.
Yeah, you're okay with driving through that too?
Well, we have been.
Yeah, we got
It's an adventure, road trip. I love road trips. I could live the rest of my life on road trips. I love jumping in the car. I was a musician. I was a singer-songwriter for a while and had records and all that. And the thing I miss the most is throwing the guitar in the car and getting the heck out of Dodge and just going wherever. I love that lifestyle. Have you learned some stuff, like going town to town? Have you learned things like I don't necessarily mean musical, like. And I don't want to be too profound, but have you gotten any kind of life lessons or figured out, some stuff just from doing this, from having this kind of life?
Absolutely, yeah.
Somebody owes somebody else a Coke.
It's more, it's kind of an intuitive, it's a part of a pacing of your life, I think that when you are locked into a place and you don't get the chance to leave, you have to make an effort to stay open and remember how big things are, how big of a country it is, how big of a world it is. Something about traveling for me, just it sort of lessens the grip on, you try to pin down the present moment and you let things come and go, and the pace of it can be hectic, when you're on tour. It's not a luxury trip. You don't oftentimes get to stop and do things that in places that you'd like to do, but for me it's more of a, I feel very calm on the road, I feel more antsy at home.
No, that's good. The road is calling you. Music is calling you. That's really the thing. I mean, that's why when you're not getting to all the touristy things in all the towns, that's why it's okay. You don't have that other stuff on your mind. Your life is making music, with each other and interacting with the crowds. The whole thing that goes on there. You're not interested in seeing the Empire State Building. You could always see that the next time, And Fillmore Schmillmore, We've got Cafe Paradiso down the block. I think that I admire you guys and the sound of your music. We've talked about the origins of your music to this point, but let's do this. Let's talk about the album a little bit more, other than the title. There are a few songs on there that I'd love you to go into. For instance, what do you think was the most challenging song to write as a pair, as a group?
Well, every one of them is so different,
right.
And we don't approach anyone, like, there's no way we go about it. Each song is its own thing, and it's been born its own way. This record, we're always experimenting with writing, and we have a lot more we have a lot of musicians that we play with, and this was kind of fun. There was some that we kind of really opened up, like as far as structurally, like the songs, and that was really fun and interesting for us. And but I'm not sure which one was the most challenging.
All right, I take it back. What is the most personal, maybe? Where I was going before was maybe the hardest to write because it was so deep or so personal or whatever. But I'll say it like that, what is the most personal?
I think a lot of them are.
Yeah.
This one. I mean, the thing is...
Another hard answer.
Yeah, well, sometimes, sometimes we come to the table, there's songs on the record that were nearly, if not totally complete by the time Ben showed them to me or I showed them to him.
Right.
And then there's songs that need to grow, need to get a little bigger, need to have a little more air in them, or something needs to change, So I think we write in a very personal way. So on the record, I mean, I don't know that there's a song on there that's not,
Okay.
that I don't feel personally connected to in some way.
That you don't feel, right. What about, how about this? What about your, the way you recorded this album versus the way you did the other ones? Was there a big break? Was there a kind of different way that you approached this one?
Well, yeah, the other ones we've always done just, like Tremolo, the record before this one, we tracked it all in a day. Just live, just boom, right on the floor. And just really fast. And we've done all of them that way, just as fast as you could possibly get it done.
Yeah.
And we did that and that works for us on like so many levels. And we like, you don't get to second guess, and you're just following your heart and your instincts. And so that works really well. But for this one, we did that. We tracked it all in, I think, 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah, and then
So this was twice as long.
yeah. So it was, but then we took it away out of the studio and took it to another studio, and we'd never done that before.
Ah.
And then we kind of got to, and then we didn't allow ourselves much time there either, on purpose, but kind of helped us. This record was like, it was kind of more in the realm of a sculpture, because we just banged it out, and then we had kind of a lot of stuff, and then we sort of shaped it a little bit, which was really fun and neat, like, and aired it out. We put a lot of stuff on it, and then we took
stuff out.
A lot of stuff
That's
out.
That's my favorite. I've also produced some records. Don't throw that out there also. Fairfield's got to be getting sick of me saying this, but some of the approaches, like what you just said, I love the concept of getting in the room, doing it with the band, doing the basic tracks with the band, and not a lot of overdubbing. Vocals, obviously a couple of things that you need to throw on there, but I'm a big fan of that, and get it all done in a day in one session, because it seems like there's no need, unless you don't have the material and you're biding time to do material. It seems like if you got the material, you have an idea of what this should be, go for it. Just go do it. And you always change your mind later, have musicians back, and just do whatever. But I think that adds more what you said. I think it adds more credibility, it adds more authenticity, it adds more of what the vibe of the music is, and vocals. That's another thing for me. I'm not a fan of pick and choose from a jillion different tracks, and then this line here was good, this line here was good, and then the Frankenstein's monster, right. and then it has no soul, and then there's no feeling in that thing at all. My feeling is that's useful though if you have and I'm going to ask you how you guys do your tracks, and I hope I didn't just step all over that, but my feeling is that the best possible way is, if you're going to do that, then at least see what the good things you did in that performance were, maybe link them all up for the purpose of that, and then hit that microphone again and go for it again, and smash your pitch corrector.
Yeah.
Takes the soul right out of it.
I mean, I think that another difference with this record is that I think it's our most realized band record. It's much more of a band record in the sense that we have these musicians in Twin Cities. Some of them are touring with us regularly, and some just occasionally. But we opened it up to their ideas, and we have a room full of people that have arrangement ideas and sonic ideas, and if you give yourselves a little extra time like we did, you can take advantage of people's imagination and skill,
That's exactly it.
And you also have time to try things that might not work, which
right.
you can't do in a day and a half,
Yeah, although when you're in that vibe and you have the other musicians there, what's the great feeling when you're playing a part and everybody in the room realizes you just played a great part? There's that energy too. I love that. And I'll bet you had those moments.
Well, those are the best moments, really. It's just like when you mess up and you stumble upon something, and that's kind of how our records happen. And then so much of that is unplanned. We go in with a pretty strong vision, but those things happen, and it allows you to let go of that preciousness, kind of. And we know, like, we're gonna make this record, and we have a vision for it, but these songs are gonna change. There's not one way. It's just it's a photograph. Like your hair is gonna grow, like a few months later. It's like a haircut. Yeah, it's like it's gonna change.
It's gonna change. And where I was also going, and you brought up a point, I wanted to go there also, is that the songs changing, they're gonna change on the road from the recording, and then they're gonna change even further when you do them 2 years from now or whatever. And you're also gonna be influenced by, you just said you had your opening acts and bands that you've opened for, which I'm curious about. Let's do a sidebar real quick. Who are some of the bands that have opened for you?
Have opened for us?
Who've opened for you, yeah, that you like, that you're kind of bringing along with you?
Oh, well, I mean, most of the opening acts we have are guys from the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Eric Koskinen band. There's a great group from Australia called Luluk that's open for us that we really like.
It's different every town.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. What about some of the bands you've opened for?
We've opened over the last couple years. We've got to learn a lot. Like, we've opened for people from like we've opened for Mavis Staples, to Arcade Fire, Bon Iver. Mason Jennings is one of our dear friends, and we got to do a tour with him, and we learned so much, and
nice.
It was one of our greatest experiences, I think, is touring wise. We've opened for Mary J. Carpenter.
Yeah, we just did a couple shows with Emmylou Harris last month, and then sometimes there's a group called the Great Lakes Swimmers that is out of Ontario, who is a full band, in our genre. We like playing with those guys. I think what we do is pretty adaptable. Theaters, bars, clubs, it's kind of, we can really, I think, bring it across in a lot of different settings. We try to,
Nice. Well, when you open for, or when they open for you, Fleet Foxes, I'm getting a plane ticket.
Okay.
That's going to be a fine double billing. I always ask this question, what advice do you have for new artists? What is your opinion on that? It's a hard one.
There's a lot of stuff.
And even from a creative perspective, any advice?
I think what I'd tell is kind of, don't believe the hype, in the sense that you don't have to conquer the world when one giant leap. I think artists that come out and have a patience to them, to their development, and work in their region, and set goals. I just think that there's more of an organic process that's available, instead of you trying to pitch things out on the internet and hope you get lucky, lucky once,
right,
or an instant kind of hit. But I think that
beautiful.
I just feel like there's a way that makes sense, where you can develop as an artist and not feel like you're, desperately compromising, waiting for just something,
Nice, nicely said.
Yeah.
What you got?
You gotta really kind of know what you do well and trust it all the time, or like believe in what you're doing, and all the way, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise you should probably do something else. Like, but if you believe in it, I believe anyone could do it. Or just do what you want to do. If it feels, it probably won't even be a question. You'll just do it.
You'll just do it. You haven't, before you mentioned the whole thing about the scene, the Iowa scene. I remember earlier. There is an Iowa scene. There's an Iowa music scene, and it's we have a couple of kids, and we have some groups in town that actually I think have helped create that image, or contribute to the image. I think create that image too a little bit. We have the Rabelais, Phil and Dom Rabelais. I don't know if you know these guys. We have Trouble Lights. We have Surgery. We have actually some Fairfield acts that are going out there carrying the flag, and it's very. We've actually had kids because I'm an old guy, but we've had people come back, and they've been proud of coming back to Iowa and making music in Iowa. And I think it's to your point. It's that there are two different. It seems like it's breaking down into two different camps now, and both, I guess, have a validity. One would be, go for this other thing. Go for this, American Idol. Throw something on YouTube and hope that it blows up and all that, and enjoy your success. But there's also this other thing, and I think the other path that you were talking about includes performance artists. Like I was saying with the Rabelais and all that, that's like performance art in a lot of ways, and it also involves finding out more about exploring yourself through your music, and exploring the music through yourself. I think that's you don't really get that when you're buying the glam, when you're buying the machine, when you're buying into a machine. So all kudos to you guys for doing it the way you've done it, and to me, you make really wonderful music, and I really, that I've been taunting Red House to get you guys here for a while now, so I'm really happy to get you here. I appreciate it very, very much.
We're glad to be
Thank
here,
you.
Mike.
Oh yeah, and have a great show tomorrow. I hear it was great. By the time the show airs.
It's murky in my memory, but I think hopefully it was all right.
Yeah, the 4 or 5 standing ovations after the first song might have been too much, but
I got bit by a bat.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was awful.
That was terrible. It happens, though.
But luckily we had 4 doctors in the audience.
Yeah, like,
It was
yeah.
just fine, you were fine. And they all had like, disinfectant to say. Anyway, thank you again for coming here. And I think let's wrap that up as far as talking about, as far as yapping, and let's get to the music. Hey everybody, you've been watching Fairfield 2.0. We're talking with the Pines. Let's introduce them one more time. David Huckfeld and Benson Ramsey, and not Len, and not Len at all. He looks so much like Len. Hang in there because we're going to have a little concert for you. These guys are going to play some songs from the new album, maybe from older albums. We'll see what they feel like. But till the next episode, exciting episode, take care, Fairfield, and so long.
Hello, my name's David Huckfeld.
I'm Benson Ramsey. We're the Pines, and happy to be here. We're going to play a few songs. And this first song is called Cry, Cry, Crow off a new record of ours called Dark So Gold. In the morning, I buckle my shoes like a pilgrim and make my way to the highway in the silhouette of silos. Cry, cry, crow. And I love you more than you'll ever know, dear. Before I was born, I could hear you calling my name from far away. Cry, cry, crow. In the distance, all the way from out, the city glows like a beating heart upon the table. Cry, cry, crow. In the dome light, wherever you are going, the hourglass you're holding is filled with falling snow. Cry, cry, crow. Cry, cry, crow. Cry, cry, crow.
This next song is called If by Morning. Second song on our new record, Dark So Gold. bell tower's ringing, it isn't you singing. We don't know that song anymore. Winter bones breaking, if it ain't shook, it's shaking. This tangle of fate out my back door. Well, threadbare in peril, it's cold Christmas carol. We jump from the bridge in our mind. And it's one for the money, two you go hungry. My blue shoes are dragging the line. Leave a lantern on the trail, not asking for much, just your little sweet touch. If by morning you're ready to sail, don't wait for so long, 'cause you know that I'm gone. You can lock up your treasure, take drastic measures. We march to the grave all the same. It's a short life of trouble, the church turns to rubble, and beauty has never had a name. My head's in your branches, squandered my chances, and giving the last I can give. This empire's falling, pace is appalling. How can a poor man stand such times and live? So leave a lantern on the trail, not asking for much, just your little sweet touch. If by morning you're ready to sail, don't wait for so long, 'cause you know that I'm gone. Oh, leave a lantern on the trail, not asking for much, just your little sweet touch. If by morning you're ready to sail, don't wait for so long, 'cause you know that I'm gone.
Alright, this next song here is called All the While, and we're the Pines. Oh, the heart shines red, stars shine gold, and it's getting late, and it's so cold, and all the while my heart it beats for my love through the empty streets. All the while with a silver arrow buried in my chest, I fell asleep in the earliness and had the most vivid dream. I was just a sailor and I was lost at sea. Oh, and all the waves crashed over me and I was lost
and shake my fist as we walk along the graveyard fence. And if time ain't real and time don't exist, oh then why? Oh then why? All the while, 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 all the while. Alright, we're the Pines, and this next song here is called Dead Feathers off of our record Dark So Gold. Dead feathers tied to a dream catcher that hangs down from a Midwest moon as smoke rolls out of the windows. Heart into the sky, where falling stars disappear. It's an old lonely city, and we brush our teeth to the sound of sirens, an illusion of safety, a harpsichord on a gravel road. On fire, but my hands are cold. We tremble in the bullet gold. So much beauty and kindness in the world, it makes me cry. And I beg of you, Your Highness, please tremble in the bow echo. We lie awake in the dark so cold, and we worry all the night, and we hurry away the days through the fragileness. We go we tremble in the bow echo. We lie awake in the dark so cold.
Hello again, we're the Pines, and this last tune we're going to do for you now is called Rise Up and Be Lonely from our newest record, Dark So Gold, on Red House Records. Whose woods these are? Don't I think I know? They stole them when they found the gold. Now we're broken, little treaty with who's approved. Now it's no blind madness on the plains I clamor for a pure restraint. 'Cause you don't need many words, speak the truth.
Rise up and be lonely.
Where daisies burn, those kisses fade from the lack of light in hearts and minds. Cold hymns explode, voodoo scenes erupt in time. But I make my way in the leaves and roots. I'm trembling in my traveling boots. I don't believe, but I believe. I dust my broom.
Rise up and be lonely.
straps my shoulders, I got chains my feet, and all the money in the world is just a lame retreat from the shelter that's behind our eyes. Look how the sun hangs like a thief over branches that are leaf to leaf. Well, I'm out walking under corporate criminal skies.
I rise up in the morning. Rise up and be lonely.
Hello, this is the Pines, and we just want to say what a pleasure it is to play on Fairfield 2.0 in one of our favorite Iowa towns. Gonna do one more song for you. It's from our record Sparrows in the Bell. It's called Going Home.
1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm gonna see my friends. I'm gonna see my friends that live behind. Oh, I miss you, babe. Yeah, I miss you, babe. But maybe miss me too. Maybe you miss me too. Things go wrong. Yeah, things go wrong. There ain't nothing you can do. The silver moon. Yeah, the silver moon is a hanging. Oh, it's a sad old world. It's a sad old world. And the leaves are a fire.